Hey dear. Stop tolerating what drains you. Stop sacrificing your mental health for temporal approval. There's a moment when everything inside you whispers, I can't keep doing this. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a soft, tired voice buried beneath responsibilities, expectations, and the pressure to keep smiling when your soul feels heavy. And most people ignore that voice. They scroll past it. They laugh it off. They drown it in distractions. But what if that voice is the most important warning you'll ever receive? What if the life you're holding together is quietly breaking you apart? Because here's the truth nobody tells you. You can survive being misunderstood. You can survive being broke. You can even survive being alone. But you cannot survive losing your mind and calling it strength. Pause for a second. Think about that. How many times have you said, I'm fine, when you were anything but fine? How many nights have you laid awake, staring into darkness, replaying conversations, questioning your worth, carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with? You see, the world praises endurance. It claps for people who push through pain. It glorifies hustle, sacrifice, and staying strong no matter what. But it rarely asks, at what cost? Because strength is not staying in situations that are destroying you. Strength is not tolerating disrespect just to avoid conflict. Strength is not pouring from an empty cup until there's nothing left of you. That's not strength. That's slow self-destruction disguised as loyalty. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day feeling like a stranger in your own life. You'll look around and realize you built everything except peace. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because prioritizing your sanity doesn't look the way people expect. It doesn't always look kind. It doesn't always look agreeable. It doesn't always make people clap for you. Sometimes it looks like saying no when everyone expects a yes. Sometimes it looks like walking away without explaining yourself. Sometimes it looks like choosing silence over proving your point. And sometimes it looks like letting people misunderstand you, so you don't have to keep explaining your pain. But here's the question. Why is it so hard for you to choose yourself? Why do you feel guilty for protecting your peace? The answer is simple, but painful. You were taught that your worth is tied to how much you give, how much you tolerate, how much you sacrifice for others. You were taught that being needed makes you valuable. So you kept giving. You kept adjusting. You kept shrinking parts of yourself, just to fit into spaces that were never designed for your growth. And now you're tired. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, deeply tired. The kind of tired that sleep doesn't fix. And still, you keep going. Because stopping feels like failure. Because choosing yourself feels selfish. But let me ask you something. If you lose your peace trying to keep everyone else happy, what exactly are you winning? Because peace is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Without it, you lose clarity. You lose energy. You lose yourself. And slowly, you become someone who survives life instead of living it. Now imagine a different version of you. A version of you that doesn't over-explain. A version of you that doesn't chase validation. A version of you that understands that not every battle is worth fighting. Imagine waking up without that heavy feeling in your chest. Imagine going through your day without constantly second-guessing yourself. That version of you exists. But it requires one thing. A decision. A decision to prioritize your sanity, no matter who gets uncomfortable. And yes, people will get uncomfortable. They will question you. They will call you distant. They will say you've changed. And they'll be right. Because you have changed. You stopped tolerating what drains you. You stopped entertaining what disturbs your peace. You stopped sacrificing your mental health for temporary approval. And suddenly, you became different. But here's the truth. You didn't become difficult. You became unavailable for chaos. You became unavailable for disrespect. You became unavailable for anything that costs you your peace. And that is growth. Now let's talk about something deeper. Because prioritizing your sanity is not just about cutting people off. It's not just about setting boundaries. It's about rebuilding your relationship with yourself. Because somewhere along the way, you stopped listening to yourself. You started doubting your instincts. You started ignoring your feelings. You started choosing what others wanted over what you needed. And now, you feel disconnected. But healing begins the moment you start paying attention again. Pay attention to what drains you. Pay attention to what excites you. Pay attention to the environments that make you feel small. And the ones that make you feel alive. Because your sanity is not just about avoiding pain. It's about choosing what nourishes your soul. And sometimes, that means slowing down. In a world that tells you to rush, to compete, to constantly prove yourself, choosing to slow down is an act of rebellion. It's saying, I refuse to lose myself just to keep up. And that's powerful. But let's be real. This journey is not easy. There will be days you question your decision. Days you feel lonely. Days you wonder if you made a mistake by walking away. Because comfort, even toxic comfort, is hard to let go of. But every time you choose your peace, you're building something stronger than comfort. You're building clarity. You're building self-respect. You're building a life that doesn't require you to betray yourself just to maintain it. And that is worth everything. So the next time you feel that quiet voice inside you, don't ignore it. Don't silence it. Listen. Because that voice is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's telling you what your mind has been trying to protect you from all along. And the moment you start listening, everything begins to change. You stop chasing what drains you. You stop forcing what doesn't flow. You stop holding on to things that are clearly letting go of you. And slowly, peace becomes your new normal. Not chaos. Not confusion. Not constant emotional exhaustion. But peace. A peace that doesn't need validation. A peace that doesn't depend on other people's behavior. A peace that comes from knowing you chose yourself. And if this message is speaking to you right now, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, drained, or mentally exhausted, then this is your reminder. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to prioritize your sanity. Because at the end of the day, no one else is living in your mind. No one else is carrying your thoughts. No one else is responsible for your peace. That responsibility belongs to you. So take it seriously. Guard your mind. Protect your energy. Choose your peace, over and over again. And if you want more messages like this, messages that remind you of your worth, your strength, and your power to take control of your life, make sure you subscribe to the Stoic Path. Because this journey of choosing yourself, is just getting started. Because this journey of choosing yourself, is just getting started. And now that you've made that quiet, powerful decision to protect your peace, life will begin to test you in ways you didn't expect. Not with obvious chaos. Not with loud warnings. But with familiar situations. Familiar people. Familiar patterns that once felt normal, but now feel heavy. This is where the real work begins. Because it's one thing to decide to prioritize your sanity. And it's another thing to live it out when it actually matters. When the same person calls again. When the same environment pulls you back in. When the same habits whisper, just one more time. That's when your growth is tested. And this is the first truth you must accept. Stop tolerating what drains you. Not tomorrow. Not when it becomes unbearable. Now. Because what you tolerate trains people how to treat you. And even more dangerously, it trains you to believe you deserve it. There's a story about a young woman named Ada. Ada was known for being kind. Always available. Always understanding. If you needed her, she would drop everything. If you hurt her, she would still find a way to forgive you. People loved her. But they also used her. Her phone never stopped ringing. Not because people cared about her, but because they knew she would never say no. One evening, after a long exhausting day, Ada sat alone in her room. Her body was tired, but her mind was louder than ever. She replayed every conversation. Every favor. Every moment she said yes when she wanted to say no. And then it hit her. No one was forcing her to live like this. She had been choosing it. Choosing to ignore her limits. Choosing to overextend herself. Choosing to stay silent when she felt disrespected. That night, Ada made a quiet promise to herself. I will no longer abandon myself to make others comfortable. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was the beginning of her freedom. The next day, when her phone rang, she didn't pick up immediately. And for the first time, she felt guilty. That guilt will come. Let's not pretend it won't. Because when you've spent so much of your life being everything for everyone, choosing yourself will feel unfamiliar, uncomfortable, even wrong. But here's the truth. Guilt is not always a sign that you're doing something bad. Sometimes, it's a sign that you're breaking old patterns. And those patterns will fight to survive. People will notice. They'll say things like, "You've changed. You're acting different. You don't care like you used to." But what they really mean is, "You're no longer convenient for me." And that's okay. Because your life is not meant to be convenient for others at the cost of your sanity. Now let's go deeper. Because stopping what drains you is not just about people. It's also about habits. The late nights that leave you exhausted. The endless scrolling that fills your mind with comparison. The overthinking that steals your present moment. These things seem small. But over time, they drain you silently. Like a leaking bucket. You don't notice the loss until you're empty. So ask yourself, what in my life is constantly taking from me, without giving anything back? And more importantly, why am I still allowing it? Because awareness without action changes nothing. Now here's the second truth. Don't sacrifice your mental health for approval. This one cuts deep. Because approval is addictive. That feeling of being liked, accepted, praised. It feels good. But the price you pay for it is often invisible at first. There's a man named Tund. Tund worked in a corporate office where everyone competed for recognition. He was talented, hardworking. But he had one weakness. He needed people to validate him. So he said yes to everything. Extra work? Yes. Late hours? Yes. Taking responsibility for things that weren't even his? Yes. At first, it worked. His boss praised him. His colleagues admired him. But slowly, things began to change. The workload increased. The pressure intensified. And the praise? It became expected. No longer special. One night, Tund sat at his desk long after everyone had left. The office was quiet. But his mind was racing. He stared at his screen, unable to focus. Not because he wasn't capable. But because he was exhausted. Mentally. Emotionally. He had built a life around approval. And now it was suffocating him. That night, he asked himself a question. If I stopped doing all of this, would they still value me? And the answer scared him. Because deep down, he didn't know. That's the danger of living for approval. You lose your sense of self. You become whatever people need you to be, instead of who you truly are. And in the process, you disconnect from your own needs, your own limits, your own sanity. Listen carefully. Not everyone has to like you. Not everyone has to understand you. Not everyone has to approve of your choices. Because approval is temporary. But the damage to your mental health can last for years. So the next time you're about to say yes, pause. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to? Or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? That question will change everything. Because every time you choose approval over peace, you betray yourself. And self-betrayal is one of the fastest ways to lose your sanity. Now let's move to the third truth. Never entertain what is disturbing your peace. This one requires discipline. Because not everything that comes your way deserves your attention. Not every argument needs a response. Not every message needs a reply. Not every situation needs your involvement. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. There's a story about a man named Chinidu. Chinidu had a friend who constantly brought drama into his life. Every conversation turned into conflict. Every interaction left him drained. But Chinidu kept engaging. He argued. He explained. He tried to fix things. Until one day, he realized something. Peace is not found in fixing chaos. It is found in refusing to participate in it. So he stopped responding. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But out of self-respect. At first, it felt strange. The silence was unfamiliar. But then something happened. His mind became quieter. His energy returned. And for the first time in a long time, he felt at peace. That's the power of disengagement. You don't always need closure. You don't always need to prove your point. Sometimes, walking away is the closure. Because protecting your peace is not about winning arguments. It's about choosing what deserves access to your mind. And here's something you must understand. Your mind is not a playground for negativity. It is a sacred space. What you allow in shapes how you feel, how you think, how you live. So be selective. Be intentional. Guard it fiercely. Because once your peace is disturbed, everything else begins to suffer. Your focus, your energy, your relationships, everything. So the next time something tries to pull you into chaos, pause. Take a breath. And ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If the answer is no, walk away. Silently. Confidently. Without guilt. Because prioritizing your sanity is not about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about making better choices, one moment at a time. It's about choosing yourself, even when it's hard. And yes, it will be hard sometimes. But every time you choose peace, you become stronger. Every time you set a boundary, you reclaim your power. Every time you walk away from what drains you, you create space for what truly nourishes you. So keep going. Keep choosing yourself. Keep protecting your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. And if this message is resonating with you, if you're ready to take control of your life and protect your peace unapologetically, then subscribe to the Stoic Path. Because this journey of prioritizing your sanity, is how you finally become free. Because this journey, this quiet, powerful journey of protecting your peace, doesn't end the moment you walk away from what drains you. In fact, that's where a different kind of challenge begins. The external noise may reduce, but the internal voice? It gets louder. That voice that questions your decisions. That replays old memories. That whispers, maybe you were too harsh, maybe you overreacted, maybe you should go back. And if you're not careful, you will return to the very things that once broke you. Not because they changed, but because you felt uncomfortable being alone with your thoughts. This is the part nobody prepares you for. The silence after choosing yourself. It's peaceful, but unfamiliar. And the human mind will always try to return to what feels familiar, even if it's toxic. So now, your next level of growth begins. Learning how to sit with yourself, without running back to what once drained you. Because prioritizing your sanity is not just about what you remove. It's about what you build in its place. Let's go deeper. There was a young man named Ibrahim. Ibrahim finally walked away from a toxic relationship that had consumed him for years. The arguments. The emotional roller coaster. The constant feeling of not being enough. It was all gone. At first, he felt relieved. Like a weight had been lifted off his chest. But then, something unexpected happened. He felt empty. Not because he missed the pain, but because he had built his routine around chaos. Late-night arguments had been replaced with silence. Constant texting had been replaced with stillness. And in that stillness, he didn't know who he was anymore. So one night, out of habit, he picked up his phone. Scrolled through old messages. Reread conversations. And his mind began to play tricks on him. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you should try again. But deep down, he knew the truth. It wasn't love he missed. It was familiarity. And that's dangerous. Because familiarity can make toxic situations feel like home. So instead of going back, Ibrahim did something different. He sat with the discomfort. No distractions. No escaping. Just him, and his thoughts. At first, it was unbearable. But slowly, that discomfort turned into clarity. He started understanding himself. His patterns. His triggers. He realized that for years, he had been trying to fix someone else, while completely ignoring himself. And that was the moment everything changed. Because healing doesn't begin when you leave. It begins when you stop running back. Now listen carefully. You will feel the urge to go back. Not just in relationships, but in habits. In environments. In versions of yourself that no longer serve you. And every time that urge comes, pause. Don't react immediately. Because urges are temporary. But consequences are not. Now let's talk about something even deeper. Rebuilding your identity after choosing your sanity. Because when you stop tolerating what drains you, you create space. And that space must be filled intentionally. Otherwise, old patterns will return to fill it for you. So who are you? When you're no longer exhausted? Who are you? When you're not constantly trying to prove yourself? Who are you? When your mind is finally at peace? That's the version of you waiting to be discovered. There's a woman named Kemi. For years, Kemi defined herself by how much she could endure. She was proud of it. Proud of being strong. Proud of being resilient. But what she didn't realize was, her strength had become her prison. Because she kept accepting things that hurt her, just to prove she could handle it. Until one day, she couldn't anymore. She broke down. Not because she was weak, but because she had been strong for too long without rest. That breakdown became her turning point. She started asking herself a different question. What if strength is not about enduring everything, but about choosing what deserves my energy? That question changed her life. She started saying no. Setting boundaries. Walking away from things that once felt impossible to leave. And slowly, she began to rediscover herself. Her laughter returned. Her energy came back. And for the first time, she felt light. That's what happens when you prioritize your sanity. You don't lose yourself. You find yourself. Now here's something important. Not everyone will understand this version of you. Some people will feel uncomfortable around your peace. Because they were used to the version of you that tolerated everything. The version of you that over-explained. The version of you that always made room for chaos. But now, you're different. Calmer. More selective. More aware. And that difference will create distance. But don't mistake that distance for loss. Sometimes, distance is protection. Because not everyone is meant to go with you to your next level. Some people were only meant for the version of you that didn't know better. And that's okay. Let them go. Without anger. Without resentment. Just, with understanding. Because holding on to people who drain you is a form of self-betrayal. Now let's talk about discipline. Because protecting your peace is not a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. A moment-by-moment choice. You choose it when you don't respond to that message. You choose it when you walk away from that argument. You choose it when you say no without explaining yourself. And every time you choose it, you strengthen your mind. But there will be days you slip. Days you engage in things you promised yourself you wouldn't. Days you overthink. Days you feel overwhelmed again. And that's okay. Growth is not about perfection. It's about awareness. The moment you notice. The moment you correct yourself. You're still on the right path. So don't be too hard on yourself. Be patient. Because unlearning years of self-neglect takes time. But every step forward matters. Now let's go deeper into something many people ignore. Protecting your energy in a world that constantly demands it. Your energy is your life force. It determines how you show up. How you think. How you feel. And not everything deserves access to it. Think about your day. How many things drain you unnecessarily? Conversations that lead nowhere. Content that fills your mind with negativity. Situations that leave you feeling worse than before. These things add up. And over time, they shape your mental state. So be intentional. Choose what you consume. Choose who you engage with. Choose where you invest your time. Because every choice either protects your peace or disturbs it. There's a simple rule you can follow. If it costs you your peace, it's too expensive. Now sit with that for a moment. Because it will change how you see everything. That relationship. Is it costing you your peace? That habit. Is it draining your energy? That environment. Is it affecting your mental health? If the answer is yes, then you already know what to do. And yes, it may not be easy. But it will be worth it. Because peace is not something you find. It's something you create. Through your choices. Your boundaries. Your awareness. So protect it. Guard it. Prioritize it, no matter what. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with your own mind. And if that relationship is chaotic, everything else will be too. But when your mind is at peace, you move differently. You think clearly. You act intentionally. You live fully. And that is the life you deserve. So keep going. Keep choosing yourself. Keep protecting your sanity like your life depends on it. Because it does. And if you're ready to continue this journey, to keep growing, healing, and becoming the best version of yourself, then subscribe to the Stoic Path. Because this path of prioritizing your sanity, will change your life forever.